to be able to close in under 60 seconds if you're going to make the Olympic team. But these guys were in Section 2. We'll see. Kids just keep getting faster. And we're off for Section 1 here. As we said, this is a
no break in the action for us back here at Jack Kemp Stadium with Heat 1. And we saw Dan Mikulski earlier in a 1500, which leads me to believe that he's going to be our pace setter, which it says right clear as day on my spreadsheet in front of me. But Dan, a very accomplished steeplechaser in his own right, working on a little bit of speed work for himself before lending a hand to Heat 1, the Stars and Stripes Heat here tonight.
And some great athletes in this field, too. John Gay, the Canadian 8'16" athlete, he's in that second position behind Michalski. And you also have Emmanuel Bohr making his steeplechase debut in this race as well, better known as the 5,000 and 10,000 meter man. Craig Nowak in here, the pace pirate. Kenneth Rooks and Duncan Hamilton, the two athletes who have the second and third fastest NCAA marks all time, and they're now professionals. Rooks for Nike, Duncan Hamilton for the Bowerman Track Club are both in this race. Rooks won this heat last year, or won this race.
And then went on to win the U.S. Championship after falling.
He did. He beat Hillary Bohr first at the Track Fest here, and then went on to win the national championship. But let's not forget that in this race, coming back from injury, is Evan Jager there. You can see him behind his Bowerman Track Club teammate Duncan Hamilton with the hair pulled back and the ponytail.
Evan Jager is a people's champion. He's an athlete that you can't help but root for. He's just the nice one. Him and Louis G, two of the nicest people on planet Earth. Evan obviously rewrote the record books for the U.S. in the steeplechase, showed Americans what it took to be truly world class, a silver medalist in the Olympic Games, and trying to find his former form or form well enough and soon enough to make yet another Olympic team. Again, this is going to be a great stepping stone for him for the rest of his summer.
And we don't know what's in store for him after this year. I'm sure he'll get a Jeter-like send-off whenever he chooses to retire, but this is an Olympic year, and he's trying to make one more team.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm a track fan. I don't get that analogy. But Dan Mikulski setting a very hot pace here where we have a little bit of daylight between him and John Gay. Hey, Dan, I know that you're not going the whole way, but wait for these guys a little bit. Help them out. John Gay driving the train at the front with that appears to be Anthony Rotich in second place with the Japanese athlete Ryoma Aoki, an 8:20 personal best, following close there as the third finisher.
Yeah, we neglected to say Anthony Rotich in this field, 8:13 best as well. He's in that third position.
His first steeple of the year. Steeple is such a grueling event, as we saw heartbreakingly Emma Coburn break her ankle in her first steeple of the year over there in China. The wear and tear that these guys have on their body, it's no wonder Evan's coming up with injuries. It's just a grueling event. The pounding that these guys take, they're out here in tiptoeing in spikes, jumping over 35 barriers, propelling themselves off of barriers into the water. So they can't run it week in and week out, maybe like a 1,500-meter runner or an 800-meter runner can. So just trying to get the level bases set for the rest of their outdoor seasons, a lot of these athletes right now. But Dan doing a great job up front, setting the hot pace, exactly what these guys need.
They're clocking 66s here, and John Gay in second there, then Rotich. And now we have Duncan Hamilton coming up in that Bowerman singlet, and Brian Barraza behind him, the Roots Running Project athlete. But Michalski's still at the front, setting the pace. And John Gay, never afraid to go with it.
No, he's Canadian. He's tough. He's weathered. They don't have a Southern California in Canada. No place for the softies to go. But John Gay charging down the backstretch. John Gay's one of these athletes that, again, unlike an Evan Jager. Evan Jager rarely, if ever, looks like he's trying hard. John Gay, not Dan Mikulski, is an athlete who he's not the smoothest runner, but gosh, he's tough. He just is he grinds it out lap after lap after lap, and he's incredibly efficient actually over the barriers as we see him sort of put a meter or two into Anthony Rotich over every barrier that he goes.
We saw Jager take a slight stumble there, drift back behind Barraza in the pack. but he's still hanging on. The pack is still tight here as there's some shuffling going on. John Gay still in that second position as they're rolling. Last lap was a 65 as they come up here. So continuing to do amazing pacing work here. Michalski staying in. That was a 66.6. A great job. It's difficult to pace a steeple over those barriers.
Probably less difficult for a seasoned steeplechase athlete than we might imagine, as he's doing an absolutely bang-up job. As a Japanese athlete here, Hibiki Obara is starting to insert himself between John Gay and Kenneth Rooks.
Yeah, and keep an eye on Rooks now coming into the picture. He's coming into that first position on the inside. So that is your reigning national champion in the United States.
That was an Emma Coburn inside pass there. A lot of people often leave that inside open, and Kenneth Rooks going to the front and really putting the pedal down here.
And we want to keep an eye on Obara in that second position, but in the third position, Duncan Hamilton, also a young steepler, and the challenger to Rooks, too, a year ago in the NCAA. But Rooks out in front, and that was a 64.7. Inside 2 laps to go in this top heat of the steeplechase. We see Evan Jagger go over the barrier. But that is Rooks out in front, getting daylight. And Duncan Hamilton is moved himself into second, and he's the pursuer of Kenneth Rooks right now. You could see him on the picture there.
Both athletes clearly showing the effort that this race is taking, but Rooks incredibly efficient over that water jump. And there's something about this. He makes this race just look fun. Duncan Hamilton behind him knowing exactly what he has to do, and Kenneth Rooks up front looking a little blind. Most races that Kenneth is going to be in as a pro, he'll have this some sort of a big screen to show him where his pursuers are. But with a lap to go, all Kenneth Rooks.
7:14 on the clock with the lap to go. Hamilton hunting, but Rooks stepping on the gas as he hit 400 meters to go. It looked like Hamilton was closing down, but now the gap opens wider as he continues to look smooth over the barriers, now with a glimpse back to see where Hamilton is. And it looks like potentially a 20-meter gap from here.
You know, fun for us Americans to see some of our best athletes out here exchanging blows. But today, this race is all about celebrating U.S. champion, 2023 U.S. champion, Kenneth Rooks, who made mincemeat of this field here over the last 2 laps.
Over the final barrier. So last year, he made himself known just in the final 150, overtaking Hillary Bohr. But now, it is all Kenneth Rooks as he sprints into the finish here. What's this time going to be? 8:15, maybe under 8:15. We'll see if he was able to get under 8:15.08.
Hamilton, Barazza, Rotich, sort of a blanket finish there for those 2nd through 4th spots. And here comes Evan Jagger with his first steeple of the year in 8:32. I think that we're going to see a lot more out of Jagger this season, but great for him to get a time on the board.
An outstanding final 2 laps there. 61 seconds for the penultimate lap, 60 seconds for the final lap for Kenneth Rooks. But all of that to be just outside of the Olympic standard. 8:15.08, the standard 8:15 flat. But